Hey y'all. So I wanted to share two things that the Lord really impressed on my heart during my Bible reading time yesterday as I was reading through Genesis chapter 21 about the story of Sarah and Hagar. So one thing he was teaching me through Sarah was to not be too quick to come to my own conclusions. So Sarah was barren and she really wanted Abraham to have offspring, so she ended up giving her servant Hagar to Abraham, and that ended up causing a lot of difficulty in her life because Hagar then had a child, Ishmael, and then looked upon Sarah with contempt. And then later on, Sarah ended up being able to bear a son in her old age, which she just never would have imagined. So as I was reading chapter 21, and it was talking, and Sarah was saying, I bore a child and I never ever imagined I would. And then it goes on to talk about the difficulty and conflict between Sarah and Hagar. I thought to myself, didn't she kind of bring that upon herself because she jumped to the conclusion that I can't have children, and so I'm going to give my servant to Abraham, and then that ended up causing her a lot of difficulty. So I was really convicted that a lot of times, rather than believing in what might be the impossible and believing God for the impossible, I actually jump to my own conclusions and carry out my own plans. Like, here, why don't you have my servant and that way you can have offspring? Rather than believing, no, if God promised us offspring, there's gotta be a way, and I'm gonna believe for the impossible. So that was one thing that I was just praying, Lord, teach me not to be like Sarah and jump to conclusions, because I definitely see myself doing that. The second thing he was really teaching me was to not be blinded by despair. Hagar ended up being, I guess, cast out because there was a lot of conflict between Hagar and Sarah. And so Hagar and Ishmael had to go away, and they were in the wilderness, and it got to a point where they ran out of water, and Hagar was like, there's no way that my son's gonna live. And so she hid them in a bush, hid him, her son Ishmael, in a bush, and the Bible said it was because she didn't want to watch him die. And then the Lord heard the voice of the boy and opened Hagar's eyes, and there was a well right there in front of her. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so me so often, because sometimes I'm so blinded by despair and all the things that are going wrong that there could be a well right there, but I was just so blinded and too blinded to see it. So that my prayer in response to seeing that and the Lord convicting me was that the Lord would open my eyes, and that I would not be blinded by whatever difficult circumstance that I'm in. So yeah, I wanted to share those two things and hope that this encourages your heart.